Apple has gone through several iterations as a company, including near bankruptcy and needing to be bailed out by longtime rival Bill Gates in 1997. Return to profitability, like a phoenix from the ashes, hinged on Steve Jobs' vision to make Apple products sexy. That started in 1998 with the iMac and then the iBook a year later. And in 2001, Apple launched the iPod and iTunes Music Store. And following that success, they created the iPhone in 2007, followed by the App Store. Apple was not the first to release a computer or laptop or music player or smartphone, but Steve Jobs made them sexy. With unique user interface innovations, Apple's versions of these commodity products were visually appealing, easy to use, feature-rich, and priced high enough to make them a status item. Like any luxury brand, Apple always had a small overall market share. However, Apple maximized the revenue from their customers by maintaining a closed ecosystem where all hardware upgrades and software and music purchases had to be done through Apple. And Apple products were specifically made to work better with other Apple products than with similar products from other manufacturers. Apple entered into the Chinese market on a small scale very early on and established a footprint before most foreign or domestic competitors. This enabled the company to establish scalable contract manufacturing and wide distribution of Apple products in China once Tim Cook came along and made China a high priority for Apple. The timing of Apple's push into China on a grand scale came at a coincidentally very good time when the Chinese economy was growing by leaps and bounds. This synergized with Apple's aspirational quality, providing Chinese consumers with a means for conspicuous consumption as their financial position improved. However, knockoff products and unauthorized distribution channels have taken some of the wind out of Apple's sails. This was partly due to the company's inability to negotiate a distribution agreement with China's top mobile provider for 6 years since initial discussions. And now China's economy is slowing rapidly and a trade war with the United States is in full swing, shifting consumer priorities. Chinese consumers are turning more nationalist and seeking better value from domestic products. Apple's early lead in China's computing and communication technology industry has been ferociously challenged by foreign and domestic competition, which are now at least as well established in terms of distribution. Moreover, many companies are copying, emulating, or stealing Apple's technology and interfaces and undercutting them on the same features. On top of that, other companies are dedicating significantly more of their revenue to research and development, besting Apple at their own game in terms of new innovative features and designs. As the trade war with the U.S. heats up, the Chinese government is refocusing its efforts on bolstering domestic Chinese brands. This coincides with renewed nationalism on the part of Chinese consumers. The result is evident in the meteoric rise of Huawei, which is now in a two-horse race with Samsung for Chinese smartphone market share. To have a real chance at remaining competitive, it is in Apple's best interests that the U.S. administration cease its trade war post-haste. And regardless of that, Apple must make a case to the Chinese government that its product manufacturing and distribution in China has been a boon to the Chinese economy and people, and that it should be able to compete on an equal footing with Chinese companies. Likewise, Chinese consumers should see Apple as a made-in-China story and not as a foreign invader. Apple is in a very similar position in China as Japanese car manufacturers were in the U.S. over the past few decades. Companies like Toyota moved assembly plants into the U.S. and made the case that they were actually more American-made than most American brands. Moreover, they maintained a better quality and reliability of vehicle than their competitors, even if prices were a little higher. Today, Toyota is head-to-head with Ford as the best-selling motor vehicle brand in America, despite significant pressure to buy American brands. Apple needs to follow Toyota's lessons. Also, Apple was too early with their lower-priced model iPhone and didn't execute it very well. To stay competitive as consumer priorities shift to a better value for their money, Apple must reduce the lower end of their price range while retaining the premium quality that defines their brand. Tim Cook was in the right place at the right time to implement a successful China strategy for a luxury brand such as Apple. Cook has proven to be a savvy operations and logistics manager who was able to leverage Apple's existing cachet and technological lead into a nearly miraculous growth story as the Chinese middle class was exploding. But as the saying goes, anyone can look like a genius in a bull market. The challenge ahead is whether Tim Cook can sustain and grow Apple's revenues in a slowing economy with fierce competition and political headwinds. Simply doing more of the same won't cut it. Apple needs leadership that can navigate bureaucracy and shape public opinion. Moreover, Apple's portfolio of products is getting long in the tooth. The company had been on a trajectory of miniaturizing computing and communications technology from bulky computers to pocket-sized devices and then to wearables. But now they're mostly just coming out with updates to old products, and there's been a recent shift away from their core business of sleek high-end hardware to producing streaming television content. Major diversions from core competencies like this have historically heralded the end of corporate empires, such as America Online. Tim Cook has found great success in selling the sizzle that Steve Jobs created, but that era may now be coming to a close. Without new innovation to set Apple apart from the rest and to maintain a compelling reason for brand loyalty, the company's closed ecosystem may just become a noose around its neck.